All right, welcome back, guys. Today I want to talk about obtaining your CDL for all people interested in, getting their CDL, hitting the open road, Class A or B. Again, I've done both, mainly Class A though. There's a lot of different, avenues you could take to get your CDL. Some of them are not all what they're cracked up to be. So basically, when I first decided I want to drive, a tractor trailers, there wasn't a lot of local, companies that actually there wasn't any local, companies in my area at least that would train me on a tractor trailer, and give me a job. It was more of not only would they not train me, I needed at least a year's worth of experience before I could even work locally, so I was faced with a dilemma, and I was either, go to one of the, I call them cookie cutter, big chop shop companies, the CR England, CRST, etc., where, they basically want you to, go out to, a location, far away. I'm in New York, it's all out Midwest, Texas, Indiana. They train me for, a month and a half, 2 months. I get my license, and then basically I'm an indentured servant, to them. And their programs haven't changed much. That's basically what it is. You could, you get it for, it's not even for free. See, they say, oh yeah, it's free. But no, a lot of the times, actually most of the time, you have to, give them at least a year or 9 months or 2 years. They'll pay you. They'll, get you your CDL. But again, they essentially own you for, I would, more or less at least a year. It's not what I wanted. And truck driving schools are expensive. So again, there was a smaller truck driving school. It was a car and truck school in my town, Nershell, New York. Heritage Auto School, I believe it was called. And they had individual 1-hour lessons, which I recommend looking into. Everybody's going to need a little bit more time behind the wheel, I guess. It took me about, 10, 12 sessions to really get it, which is a lot, I think. A lot of people needed less. But anyway, governments, counties, states, even the federal government, if I'm not mistaken, has scholarships in different ways where the company, your government social assistance will actually help you with a lot of these programs. I did not take advantage of any at the time. I didn't know any better. So I actually paid out of pocket. I can't remember how much it was, but I was working at the time, in warehouses and whatnot, and I really wanted this, so I shelled out the dough. But I learned later that, you could look into social assistance for a lot of these truck driving schools that are local, and that'll train you, for next to nothing or nothing. But anyway, that's the route I went down, and I got my license, and after that, I had to go over the road, and I picked, I didn't have a lot of options, let's put it that way, but I went with a smaller company out of Jersey. It was over the road, but it was a smaller company. I had to go from New York to California, pick up produce, come back to the East Coast, usually in Hunts Point or Brooklyn, New York. And I liked, the reason why I went with them, they didn't offer any benefits, and it was something ridiculous, like 30 cents a mile or something like that. But when I got back from my trip, usually I took a back haul out to the West Coast, maybe, 1 or 2 loads out west until I got to Cali. But whenever I got to Cali, I hightailed it back to the East Coast. Once I got back, I could take, as many days within reason as I wanted to, like really up to a week off. So I sort of like that. I was out maybe like a little less than 2 weeks, then I'd take 4 or 5 days off, and then I would do the trip all over again. And I would recommend, if you can't find anything local in your area, like a local company, I would recommend trying to find a smaller company that will give you a shot. But back to the school, I did that. I went to a private truck driving school. That's what I recommend. I would not recommend going to a big fleet. You know, honestly, I think they're scams. I really do. They all push this lease purchase bullshit, which it really should be a crime. But that's another issue for another video. But, you know, you're essentially indebted to these companies. And again, I know it might look appealing. And again, you might be somebody that, you know, based on your demographic or where you live, there might not be much opportunity. So again, you know, in that case, you have to do what you have to do. It's not, you know, it wouldn't be a bad thing. It would really be your only thing you could do. But nowadays, and this is what I recommend to everyone thinking about getting their license, or if you just got your license, look at all the LTL companies. Look at all of them. Even FedEx and I think UPS, a lot of them have apprenticeship programs where they'll hire you, you know, and train you. You might have to work the dock, or they might just train you straight up and then, you know, put you on the road. But I would totally recommend looking at them. You're home every night, or at least most of the nights a week, and it's a great deal. I mean, for example, you know, YRC Freight trains drivers at certain locations, you know, to get their permit, to take the road test, and they ask you to work there for a year. They make you work there for a year. But they're home every night, or at least every, you know, other night, and when you go on layovers, you're in a hotel for the most part. They don't have too many sleeper teams, and the ones they have are out west. So that's the avenue I recommend going down. Look for a local company that'll train you. If you can't, stay away from the CR Englands of the world, the CRSTs. I have not had any good experiences with the guys that I've talked to that have worked for those companies. Okay? And the money is shit. You should be making at least $50,000. And I even think that's shit. But if you're not making 50 grand, especially if you're sleeping in a truck, there's something wrong there. Okay? There's something wrong there. And nobody, and I mean nobody, should lease a tractor trailer without at least 5-10 years experience. I'm sorry. You know, again, if you look at the success and failure rates of lease purchase drivers, you're doomed to fail. You're doomed to fail. Most of those guys that are driving for, you know, a lot of these big companies that are lease purchase, they're in the red, man. They're all driving. They owe the company money. They're working just to pay bills. It's insane. And, you know, when I first started driving, I thought over-the-road drivers got paid a ton of money. When you think about the sacrifice that they do, they're out, you know, anywhere from 1 week to 2 months on the road. It's insane. You're living in a truck, eating hot dogs at a truck stop. It's a shame that those guys get paid the least, it seems, you know, for the most part. I think that's ridiculous. And that's sort of why this trucking at one time was a prestigious career. It's since, I guess, in the last 10, 20 years turned into a job. And I want to see that change, man. And again, I recommend LTL. Check out in your area, your local area, you know, if they have a YRC, you know, FedEx Freight, UPS Freight, and I don't know, just check whatever you can get your foot in the door. Obviously, I'd recommend YRC Freight, but they've been good to me. But, you know, all these companies, if that have a local school where you don't have to go over the road and make $100 a week, $200 a week, living with another guy or whatever in a truck, a stranger, that's crazy, people. Don't do it. Check it out. And if you have no other choice, then I guess you got to do what you got to do. But, you know, either look at an LTL or look at a truck driving school in your area and look into government assistance and social assistance programs like Job Corps. They'll pay for it. Matter of fact, I wish I would have done it. I wish I would have known. I, like a stunad, shelled out the dough, but you don't have to go over the road. It's the biggest ripoff, and, you know, these over-the-road companies that train you, and you're essentially, you know, an indentured servant, man, a slave. So stay local, take your time, don't rush into anything. You know, if you fill out an application, even if you don't have your CDL, you'll get phone calls from 50 places within the hour. They all will make you send you brochures that, you know, with a guy sitting down with money falling out of his pocket. Man, if it was like that, there wouldn't be this huge driver shortage. I mean, it's common sense sort of deal. They wouldn't be calling you within the hour. It used to be in this industry competitive. You used to have to be good and experienced to get into a lot of these, you know, top companies. Now they, you know, it's like they're getting homeless guys off the street, giving them a sandwich and, you know, telling them, hey, you want a job? So take your time. You know, with newer drivers, you have a lot of options. Don't be jumping in over the road, you know, until you exhaust all potential, you know, opportunities to get your CDL in your local area. All right? So more to come. Just wanted to get that out there. That's the first step. It's figuring out how you're going to get your license. And, you know, again, it's all too common, you know, to fill out applications for these big companies, and then you're taken advantage of. So don't do it. Really do your homework. You know, I would think 9 out of 10 people could find some in their local area, either for cheap or for free. You know, truck driving school, local LTL company that's going to train you. So start there, and, you know, that's where I'd start. Have a good day. I will see you next time, and we'll talk about the written exam, at least the written exam in New York, but I think they're all similar. And we'll start to get into, you know, the road test and stuff like that, all that good stuff. So stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in.